Hello, everybody, and welcome to Norm, the Cheers podcast that isn't, but is also the medical advice podcast that shouldn't be taken seriously, but that you all should obviously trust. Now every week just starts with an excessive amount of medical check-in before we actually start rolling the cameras. Here's my long COVID stuff. Here's what we're doing for dementia. Here's what my knee is doing right now. This is podcasting for the not faint of heart. All you 25-year-olds podcasting and just talking about hooking up, whatever. Fucking easy.
This is the anti-Rogan podcast in the sense that, like, yep. here's all the things that are wrong with us, and well.
Yeah, it's all like medical issues and the people we used to love who have now disappointed us. That's the whole pre-podcast every week.
Oh my God. Mike, you just put our ashwagandha sponsorship in jeopardy. You realize?
Tawanda's going to sponsor us? What?
What?
He's doing great.
Yeah. I saw him, oh man, November? Yeah, I saw him in November.
Oh, good. Is he well?
Yeah, he looks happy.
Good. All right. I also want to start this with a happy birthday to my lovely bride. Yep. This officially counts as a gift if I do this at the beginning of the pod. Baby.
Cheers.
My beloved wife, who I love very much, and who we have rode out this pandemic together, and thank goodness. I feel like there's a lot of bad things about the pandemic, but if your relationship survived this, I think we're going to see a much lower divorce rate over the next 5 years. Like, everything else is going to seem pretty easy once this is all over. And I think it really, these last 2 years have cleared out a lot of the tenuous relationships.
Yeah, I feel like the moment we can leave the house, our relationship is going to move from this sort of comfortable place of coexistence to thriving once again. Like, we've basically I feel like we've cocooned our relationship. Like, we're not going to fight about anything because we can't leave the house. So we just kind of like gently coexist. I guess, sort of like, I don't know, like North and South Korea for a long time. But now, yeah, once we reached the end of the pandemic, then we can flourish. We're laying groundwork.
Nice.
I love that.
We're not cleaning the room. It's all going in the closet for the time being, and we'll deal with that closet at a later date.
What have we given as pet names to the pandemic? I did put out a Twitter poll about it, and I've been calling it the Pandoodoo for a couple weeks.
Pandoodoo's strong. I've heard Pandy a lot.
Yeah.
I always say global pandemic so I can emphasize what a shitty situation we find ourselves in.
Fair.
Yeah, this is our greatest generation moment.
Oh boy.
Yeah, like none of them can, like, when you fought through World War II, like, no one ever called it woo-wee. It was, they didn't come up with something cute for it. It was the big one or the war, and that was it. I feel like potentially we are maybe underselling what we've gone through by making the nickname too cute. So
I feel like I do the reverse, because like I use it on my kid where she's like, can I see my friend? I'm like, I don't think so, because there's a global pandemic.
Perspective.
Sobering.
Indeed.
All right. You know what did make me happy, though, was this week's episode.
Really?
I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Oh, good. We're going to disagree. I love episodes where we disagree. Yeah, I didn't remember this episode that well. And I'm not going to lie, the Sam Creepy quotient fairly high this week. But I also thought it was a really well-constructed bit of sitcom craft. I didn't remember this week very well. I went into it, and I thought it was a very well, tightly written episode around a misunderstanding. There's a very Three's Company vibe, but when you do that well, like, that's hearkening back to sitcom Shakespeare. It's like, what? He said that about moi? And you can do that really badly, or you can do that really well. And especially the scene between Sam and Diane, where they're having that conversation, because so many of these episodes or movies or plays really working hinges on the selling of that scene where they have to talk to each other and somehow everything is still misunderstood in a believable way. And when Shelley Long and Ted Danson have that scene together, when 13-month pregnant Shelley Long has the scene with Ted Danson where he is asking her to bartend and she thinks he's still in love with her and is asking her to go away for the weekend, it is so tightly written and well performed that I bought this misunderstanding. I was like, yes, I believe both of you right now, and I'm on board with this. And I really just felt that way the whole episode. This is a well-crafted bit of comedy. And I really appreciated the craftsmanship of it and the performing of it.
Yeah, I agree. I also think the scene between Paula and Diane at the end had the same kind of quality of writing as they kind of as Diane discovers that what the mistake that she's made was really well constructed. Like the first third of the episode is it's a little bit of tough sledding, but then I agree. The craft is really good, and the writing is so tight, and it advances so much about Diane. It's funny that she's absent for the first third of the episode, basically, because this episode is ultimately all about Diane and kind of furthering her character and her, the fact that she still carries this torch for Sam. She really is the central character of this episode, and she makes the biggest discovery in it. The final 2/3 do an amazing job of letting her come to that discovery in front of us.
But Tookie, you weren't feeling this week?
It's not that I wasn't completely feeling it. I guess it just I agree with you on the points that it was very well written and very well acted. It's just that I guess I've seen too many other sitcoms after this try to emulate this formula and not execute it as well. So it's kind of like, ooh. Yeah. It's kind of like when you discover a song and it has like an amazing use of a sample, but then you find the original and you're like, I get it, but I like this new version better. But because of the new versions of this type of sitcom story arc having been done and not done as well, it kind of I don't want to say
so it's kind of like the reverse where Gangsta's Paradise is sort of sullied pastime paradise for you.
Almost, yeah. Almost in a way where it's like, oh, I've seen this, and because I've seen it done not well so many times before, it's like, ooh, I don't know if I love this formula.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I appreciated this more on the second viewing, and maybe it's because of that. Where it's like you're watching the first viewing and you're kind of like, oh, okay, are they going to pull this off? And then you're comfortable realizing they did, and then you watch it again without that fear.
Yeah. Maybe that's where I erred, where I should have given it like two more. Like I did a rewatch, but I should have watched again to really let it sink in to see like, oh, they're the originators. Oh, they did this right. And what I didn't want to come after.
And I think that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about it, too, was having seen so many do it poorly. And I think just knowing, even though I didn't remember this episode super well, I remembered it once I started watching it, was just the confidence of, okay, they're probably going to do this very well. This is strong. This is in their wheelhouse. They're going to pull this off. I didn't have the same level of trepidation. Especially when it's Ted and Shelley. We're just like, they're so good together. When they have a scene together, I just expect them to pull it off with a really high batting average. It's Poppy at the plate in October. I'm like, look, I really feel like something good's going to happen here. Yeah. I know it won't always, but more often than not, we're making contact, and it's going to be solid.
I will say, like, I found the first third of the episode a little funky, but I thought the woman who played Paula Nelson,
Alison LaPlaca.
Alison LaPlaca. I know we say this a lot about guest stars, but like once again, like she nailed that character and was the best part of that first third, and really made the scene with her and Diane genuinely interesting from the like as you sort of look at those characters as mirrors of each other, both kind of going through the same thing, being attracted to somebody who might is probably wrong for them. Like I just thought she found a lot of depth in really kind of like trying circumstances, and that last scene with Diane I thought had a huge payoff for Diane, and then kind of retroactively for the character of Paula, who I'm sure we're never going to see again.
Yeah. Alison LaPlaca, by the way, was a candidate for 80s Thing of the Week.
Ooh.
As an actor, she was just someone who popped up in a ton of stuff, and you remembered her. She stood out in those moments where it's like, oh, okay, you're the steward, or you're the airline attendant from Fletch. I remember that. In fact, you bought the seat for Miss Kavanaugh. She had a very distinctive delivery that really, like, it was this biting character that you understood was like, okay, you're not one of the gang, but you didn't dislike her. You understood why a character in the show would dislike her, but you didn't actively dislike her. It was this very weird tightrope that she walked, where Carla, all right, I'm not going to like you. And whenever she would pop up in a series, when they were, when she was on Friends, which was later on in the 90s, which is kind of the last major thing I remember her doing, but she was on a bunch of Fox sitcoms in the 80s, and she would pop up in a lot of stuff. It was always clear that she was not the friendly one, but you never actively disliked her. It was a very specific niche that she kind of crushed and owned for a stretch there.
I believe it.
And I think it plays so well in the context of the 80s. Like, so much of this stuff dates poorly, but I loved the idea of like Paula Nelson, woman in the 80s, trying to get ahead, given the shitty assignment. Like, she's heard every line. She carries so much bullshit into like that first scene, and you can like see it on her. It's great casting, and she just nails it. Somebody trying to like carve out a career in a world that's kind of where the odds are tilted against her.
A little bit of internet research. I don't know if you guys saw this. Do you know who Alison LaPlaca was married to?
Oh, I saw it, but I forgot.
The fiance of Coach's daughter from season 1, the obnoxious suit salesman.
Ugh.
Yes.
Right.
By all accounts, a lovely man who crushed that character really well.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of guest stars, I know we're jumping around a little bit, but I did not know. Do you know who the old man is that's come up on? He has the last line of the episode.
Yeah.
Al Rosen.
He's always lurking in a corner at the bar.
I did not know that is George Wendt's father.
What?
George R. Wendt.
What? Well, you know who George Wendt's nephew is?
Sudeikis, baby.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso.
Blew
That's
my
a
mind
very
out.
talented bloodline.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And I love whenever he did pop up in that. It was fun.
Oh my gosh, it's such a doesn't need to say. Sinatra is still the apex.
So yeah, it's the most fun I've had since '58. All right, so I know we're jumping around a lot. Dave, what was going on when this episode debuted?
This episode debuted on February 21st, 1985. 2 days prior, February 19th, 1985, a product in a bottle and a can was introduced to beverage store shelves nationwide, and it exists to this very day. It is delicious. It is refreshing. It is, of course, cherry Coca-Cola.
Really?
I love it. Love a cherry Coke. February 19th, cherry Coke was introduced as an official non-soda counter beverage. People have been making home versions with cherry syrup. Coke codified it, packaged it. Same year as they made New Coke, only one beverage has survived the test of time. It was I didn't know this. It was manufactured to compete with Dr. Pepper, which is again another soda that I love. So I guess I'm kind of betraying my soda tastes. But monumental day. If you like cherry Coke, it was born 2 days before this episode aired.
A character flaw that I am working on in myself is stifling the need to express my negative feelings about something someone else feels positive about. I don't know why I feel like I need to do that. It adds nothing. Like the fact that I don't enjoy cherry Coke should not impact Dave's enjoyment at all, and nor is it a necessary opinion. The fact that I loathe Dr. Pepper, like it just like, all right, somebody else is enjoying Dr. Pepper. Great. It's bringing someone else happiness. And yet I feel my veins start to like expanding and stress with the need to just go, "Ugh. No, I didn't know you like cough syrup, Dave. All right, moving on. Like why? I've gotten better about like not trying to talk people out of liking movies that I did not like. I've gotten better about that. That used to feel like a really important thing for me to do. And I've stepped back on that. But yeah, it's still very hard when someone talks about a food or a beverage that I find yucky for me to not make sure that they know like I'm disapproving of this joy in their heart. Working on it.
I think it's good. I don't and I think this is good for all of us. Like I think it's good if we can look across the table and see somebody not liking what we like and not taking it personally. I think I'm a better person for your revulsion.
I can't lie though. When you were leading up to what this beverage was, I was rooting for you to say Four Loko.
No one could have even imagined Four Loko on February 21st, 1985.
Cherry Coke blew our minds, Tookie. You think if Four Loko would come out, we all just would have laid down for 2 years.
Not happening. Although, you know who would have enjoyed it on his 30th birthday when this episode premiered? Kelsey Grammer.
30?
30, really?
Yes, he filmed this at 29.
Wow.
Unbelievably, yes.
What? You know, I recently saw a thing. There's this thing going around on TikTok in celebration of the late, great Betty White, where they've been comparing the women of Golden Girls to the women of Sex and the City, who were the same age, like the debut-ish, I want to say, or like the first season of Golden Girls. The women on that show are the same age as the women on And Then It Happened, or whatever the reboot of Sex and the City is.
And just like that.
And just like that. Thank you. Yes. And they're like, oh my God, this is, it blows people's minds in terms of the perception of women and how aging is just way different now than it was in the time of Golden Girls. Mm-hmm. And like, there are these photoshopped images of like Rue McClanahan, B. Arthur, Betty White getting, as the kids call it, yassified with just some layers, some highlights, mm-hmm. a little bit of contour, and it's all different.
I'm curious because that is a thing that made its way around social media, I feel like about 6 months ago, just about how much older people used to look at every stage of life. Like someone was posting senior yearbook photos of parents and just looking at it, and they all looked like they were in their early 30s in their senior high school photos. Do we think, as you look at that, is it simply that, all right, people age differently now because of a variety of factors, not as much manual labor, I don't know? Or is it that people resist aging in a different way now? Where it's like, all right, they're getting the contours, they're doing different things in the makeup. All the, the women on And Just Like That are dyeing their hair, except for Cynthia Nixon. Do you think it's an artificial issue, or do you just think people age differently now?
I feel like modern medicine plays a role in a mm-hmm. sense, and self-care, the self-care industry, the goopifying of it all, and the yoni crystals and such. Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that I can't say this about men in particular, because I think looking distinguished still has its appeal, distinguished, right? But I think in terms of women, like turning 30, 35, 40 is no longer an expiration date or death sentence. And I think people are really pooping I'm trying to be a less of a potty mouth these days. But I think people are really pooping in the face of that notion. And it's the fact that like millennials are now reaching middle age and we're like, F that. I'm not wearing a girdle. Right? These
Fuck
kind
yeah.
of, yeah.
I wonder, like on the flip side, like how much is also like we venerate youth so much in this culture that we're doing everything, including like the fashions we choose to kind of hold on to that or project that for as long as possible.
Yeah. Tookie, what was happening in the cold open this week?
The cold opening was short and sweet. Yes. So we open up on the bar, and Norm is telling Sam, "Oh, this was delicious. Fortunately, I've saved room for another." And Sam says, "Coming right up." And as he tries to pour him a beer, he says, "Oh, well, gentlemen, the keg is dry." And he says, "Well, to Cliff, yeah, new one coming out. And the guy next to Cliff starts humming Taps as a funeral march. And then everybody in the bar joins in.
That is Al Rosen, who I thought Dave was referring to earlier. Yes.
Yeah. And and then everybody gets up and does a funeral procession behind Sam as he wheels the old keg out and gets the new keg out of the keg closet, because apparently keg closets exist. And he turns to everybody and he says, do we have to do this every time? And Cliff says, "We don't have to. It's an honor and a privilege. Long live the keg." And long live the keg. And then when the new one comes out and Sam wheels it out on the dolly, they start up "Hail to the Chief." And the camera zooms in on Cliff and Norm. Norm is getting a little weepy, and Cliff is like, "Norm, you okay?" And he's like, "Oh, Cliffy, I swore it wouldn't get to me this time." Roll credits.
I enjoyed it. Thought it was funny. I enjoyed it very much.
I know that there are other countries with drinking cultures, as they're called. I don't know.
I mean, that's getting to the essence of the show. If we start pulling on that thread, we have no sweater.
Yeah. It was an odd one to me, I guess.
I'm always fascinated when that door pops into the show from time to time, because sometimes it seems like it's a storage closet right there, and then other times it leads down to something else, and this is already a below level bar. So that's a deep basement, if there is a basement below that. And I'm just kind of fascinated how that physical space changes depending on what they need it to be at any given time. Like somehow here, there was a dolly just sitting right there. So there were no stairs, and you just had the keg right there ready to go. And it made me wonder, like, how many times a night do you think they would have to change the keg if this were a real bar?
Oof.
Have you ever bartended? Did you have to change a keg?
I bartended for a hot second,
mm-hmm.
But mostly pouring some spirits and not dealing with taps or spigots, or I forget the terminology. Whatever. it was booze.
I think taps.
Yeah.
Serve draft beer on tap, right?
Yeah.
So they would be the taps.
Yeah. I never had to deal with changing the kegs. That's how short a time I spent bartending. Gotcha. And that's what my shifts were.
Gotcha. All right. So we've already talked about it quite a bit. The A story is sort of surrounded by supporting stories this week, which is there is a reporter from New York or Boston Scene magazine coming in to talk about the singles scene in Boston, talk about singles bars, which was actually my 80s thing of the week, is the phrase singles bars. It ended after the 80s, but that was a term that just got thrown around about any bar where apparently people weren't married. So there were married bars and singles bars. And Cheers for this week was a singles bar, even though the only person who ever seems to date in the bar is Sam. So there is a funny bit with Cliff pretending like he's going to be hitting on Paula, comes in and he does his I'm having a stroke thing where he can't speak and can't physically move. And I know I shouldn't enjoy it. And yet every time Ratzenberger does it, I do. I crack up. I like the way he does it. I like the way he pulls it off. I find it amusing every time. And Norm having to walk him away after Carla redirects them, I enjoyed quite a bit. Carla then tells her, you need to talk to the owner, Sam Malone, who comes out. My only complaint about this episode was his come-ons were bad even for Sam. I was like, come on.
Terrible.
Sam's better than this. Yeah. Sam's got better lines than this. And then someone manages to save it by talking about how, oh, these are just the things I hear all the time, and gets her to have bouillabaisse upstairs with her and wins her over. And I love the moment where Cliff and Norm celebrate the come-from-behind victory that Sam has with Paula. Then to impress Paula, he starts trying to learn about French Impressionism and realizing that the things that Diane says impresses Paula. So he keeps asking Diane questions, and she really likes that he's taking such an interest, particularly in the French Impressionists. Frasier comes in. They've had an argument apparently about him going to too many seminars. I couldn't tell if it was too many seminars. The fact that he both times I watched, I double checked. He says he's going to a fetish seminar, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is it that he's going to a fetish seminar, or simply that he's going to too many seminars? It was sort of all right, we just need them to be fighting about something. And so they're mad at each other. And then Frasier sees that Sam is talking about French Impressionism, is become convinced that Sam still holds a torch for Diane, that he's trying to win her back, storms off. Diane is entertaining potentially the possibility of that idea, accidentally overhears a conversation between Carla and Sam, which she thinks is about her, about how he's going to win this woman over, and is starting to consider the possibility. And then they have another misunderstanding scene, which again, these are all, I think, played really well, written really well and tightly, where she overhears him talking about getting a hotel room on the coast of Maine. By the way, something I would love to do is to just do a scenic tour for a week of all the places that Sam has taken various women, because he makes them sound really amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, look, all the bacteria's died. It's been 45 years. I'm sure the rooms are fairly clean by now, but it's all like this quaint little inn on the Cape, this charming cottage on the seacoast of Maine, this lodge in Vermont. Like, Sam really seems to know all the best Airbnbs, which leads me to my question. Did Sam Malone invent the Airbnb?
He invented the Air TNA, I believe.
Correct.
But those are all places I would like to visit. Everywhere Sam goes sounds really amazing.
I don't have enough Lysol or spermicide or whatever to feel comfortable ever going to a hotel room where Sam Malone has stayed.
Just so you know, every hotel room that you have stayed at has had many Sam Malones.
Oh, God.
You have never stayed in a Malone-free hotel, Tookie.
Oh,
I'm
my
sorry.
God.
You can do with that information whatever you want. But it's important to me that you have it.
Oh, my God.
If any human being's sperm is still viable after 35 years, it would be Sam.
It's Sam Malone. Absolutely.
I mean, as I think we learned later on, potentially the least viable sperm.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. No, but it did, like, even if you can't make people off of it, I feel like there's still kind of a Slimer effect from Ghostbusters.
Understood. Yeah. Not productive, but durable.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Diane decides, so Carla says we need a bartender, which, apparently no one's ever thought of in this bar. Yeah, Coach is gone. Oh my God, I didn't even mention the fact that, they explained where Coach is gone in something I really loved. Coach is at a family reunion, has sent a picture. It's him and an entire family of Black people, which they point out. And apparently he got a mistaken invitation one year, and he went because he didn't want to be rude. And then the punchline, a couple of punchlines, the punchline ends up being, it's his 6th straight year he's gone. Like, that they all just love Coach so much he keeps going back year after year. It reminds me of that Twitter meme that went around about the grandma who accidentally sent somebody the invitation to Christmas dinner, and now it's just been going on for years and he keeps coming back. And it reminds me of that. Mm-hmm. And that also, I can't believe I didn't mention it because that's my joke of the week, is, it's signed Uncle Whitey.
That was also the Trevor joke of the week.
Yes, it's a great joke. Just a great Uncle. I loved it. is that he's Uncle Whitey and clearly delights in being Uncle Whitey. He's very proud of that title.
I don't think I can call any of my actual uncles.
I can call
Because
all of my uncles
you've got
that.
multiple. So if you picked one, that would make him feel like he's too special.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't just label one of them Uncle Whitey.
No.
No. Nope.
Unless Whitey Bulger is your uncle, and then
Absolutely. Oh, no.
Speaking of viable sperm, there's a decent chance everyone in Boston is somewhat related to Whitey Bulger. The man got around. The man got around. He was not a lonely fella.
Whoa.
Anyway, so Sam talks to Diane. They have that beautiful misunderstanding scene where they actually talk about it, and somehow the misunderstanding endures, where he wants her to bartend. She thinks he's inviting her to Maine for the weekend. Cut to the next scene. She's there with her suitcase covering up her 13-month pregnant belly. Paula is there as well. They have a great little misunderstanding scene where they talk about the guys that they're going away for the weekend with without ever understanding that they are the same guy. Until finally Diane realizes it, is mortified, and has to hide her suitcase from Sam. They leave. George Arwent gets the suitcase, has a great little moment, where she gives it to him. And one of the things that I love about the character George plays is that he's like an improv student. He says yes to everything. This is your suitcase, of course. Yeah. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. It'll never happen again. It's just really great that somehow, and everyone in the bar kind of knows, look, he's going to say yes to whatever I offer. So let's just start making an offer. Yeah, really great. Really good. Really clear that Shelley needs to start her maternity leave very soon.
She is so pregnant. And like, I was like, man, you are doing your level best, keeping your clutch like right there,
Yep.
like, but there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Like,
hats off to Shelley and James Burrows for hiding it as well as they did.
I worried when she got down behind the bars, like she should not be doing that.
Right? And the costumer, that was a good bit of costuming in that last scene where she just couldn't be behind the bar.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, here are the colors. Here's how we're draping this coat. Yeah, it's like we're going to dress you like a detective in London in the 1880s. This is what we're doing.
I thought, it was a very slimming look.
Yeah.
Yep.
And gorgeous. Like, I was like, wow, she's like, we don't get to see glamorous Diane. Like, sometimes she's gets a kind of like a little bit of a frowsy kind of look.
Mm-hmm.
That was like, I was like, oh, I get why. I can see the, this is an unbelievably attractive person.
Mm.
Yeah. Yep. That's going to be my outfit once the pandemic is finally over, to hide my lockdown weight.
Well, I was going to say that was Trevor hadn't noticed at all how pregnant Shelley Long was throughout this whole time, and I keep saying, notice how she's behind. I'm trying so hard not to, she's doing her part to not break kayfabe as a
nice. Man, you have been in comedy for a while.
I really have.
Yep.
But it reminds me of Trevor's most recent favorite moment of Reddit trolling, where hold on, let me see if I can pull it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hold on. Let's see if I've got it. I've got it here. On from Yahoo Answers, how do I take a shower without drowning my unborn baby? I'm pregnant and I haven't showered or gone near water in like 5 months because I'm afraid the water will go up and drown my baby. I wanted to put a plastic bag between my legs and try to take a bath, but maybe I should just elevate my legs. I don't know. I'm afraid the little one isn't going to make it. My husband hasn't touched me in months.
That's not real.
I know.
Stop it. Ugh. The internet has provided so little joy and use. Ugh, good Lord. All right. So what do we think about this episode? Let's go through some categories and then we'll give it a rating, give it our final verdict. I did my joke of the week. Tookie, what is your joke of the week?
Joke of the week is when Sam comes up to Diane when inquiring about arts, and he says, "This Rubens guy, is this the same guy that invented the sandwich?" He says something incredibly fatphobic afterwards, but that line got me.
Very good joke. Dave, your joke of the week.
Oh man, I want to give it to Kelsey Grammer because I think he kills it in that tiny little scene.
Yeah.
For his birthday, and that line about what does he say? He says Diane accuses him of saying the same thing over and over. And he says, "No,
Yeah.
Now you're saying that I'm redundant, that I repeat myself, that I say the same things over and over." Just blows it out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think the moment I laughed the hardest was the moment when Diane realized that she wasn't going to on the romantic weekend. The look on her face as she tries to recover is just priceless. It's it's huge, and you can just see all the dots connect in real time as Paula is hugging Sam as they prepare to leave. And then she just starts frantically shoving the suitcase and arranging her coat and trying to look normal. But that look is the funniest look of realization and shame and terror and I can do this at the same time. So I'm gonna give it to Diane.
Strong moment. Your 80s thing of the week, Dave.
I mean, of course, singles bars was a big one, but I'll go with the creepiest phone call I've ever heard in my life, which is calling the inn to make a reservation. Just in the general sense, the very act of having to make a phone call to make a reservation for a hotel. I'm so glad I will probably never have to do that again. I'm glad you said the internet has taken so much away, but it's given us so much in the sense that I don't have to talk to a human to stay at a Holiday Inn.
It's so funny. I was thinking I agree with you, but I missed being able to just call someone and say, I want to stay there. And they would tell me the price and I'd say, all right, see you tomorrow. I feel like there was something very simple about that I miss.
So you want to be like, hey, remember when I was there the last time and I totally had sex? Can I have the same room where I had sex in?
Hey. Don't do that to my inner monologue. You don't need to make my inner monologue that creepy, okay? I'm just making a reservation, Dave. That's all I'm doing.
You're just a Sam Malone Jr.
I feel bad. Is that me on the phone every time you imagine me making a call?
Pretty much.
Can I get a pizza? Well, how greasy is it going to be?
Oh,
everything. What kind of meat do you offer?
The show's canceled.
Mike Dorvell, phone sex pervert.
Terrible. All right. Luckily, we've got 10 minutes of Tookie's 80s moments to recover from that creepy moment. Tookie, your 80s moments of the week.
All right. Hold on. Okay.
I'm going to go get some tea.
Okay. No. It's not that many this week. It's not that many. Okay. So on the initial meet between Cliff and Paula remarking that, oh, let's get some help for your immigrant friend. Thinking his incoherent babbling might be another language. Magazine reporting on site, right? Like a reporter coming in on site with a pen and pad to report. I was like, whoa, we don't do that anymore. Most of the time, journalists of the day DM you on Instagram. A reference Cliff calling himself Dr. Feelgood. I don't know if that's the time or around the time when the Guns N' Roses song came out.
That was Motley Crue.
Motley Crue? Oh.
Yep.
It's a little later.
It's a whole lot of hair. That's all I remember.
Yeah, but Motley Crue this definitely preceded the Motley Crue song.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, because Motley Crue, that song was, I want to say, 89.
I was gonna
Okay.
say 90. Yeah.
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
Can we shout out Cliff's proto floss that he does?
Oh, that dance. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It was sort of like a janky floss maneuver, which
Yeah.
I did laugh.
Fair.
little shout out to both Norm and Cliff this week, because you could argue there's a little B storyline where they were just talking about the hungry heifer, and they didn't really have a narrative to drive or anything going on other than we eat at this place and it makes us feel bad. But at the same time, I thought they both performed what they got really well,
Mhm.
and I did enjoy it each time that they were talking. Beth was a stupid joke that they sold and made work.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it.
Loopster. Yeah,
So-
Loopster was a good punchline.
Yeah, shout out Cliff and Norm.
Okay. When Diane refers to smoking cannabis as goofed on skunk weed, and Carla's shirt. We haven't talked about a lot of the wardrobe choices, but Carla's shirt was so 80s, and Diane's big pink blazer with the shoulder pads at one point, super duper 80s. And then my last 80s moment is Diane's big tweed suitcase in the final scene. So the thing is that throughout this show, you never see roller bags. You never see like a four-wheeler, like a rolly suitcase. It's all the big, wheelless. You gotta huck them under your back, kind of. Yeah.
That's a good call. I would not have even thought about that. Like, my family did not travel when I was young. My mom was agoraphobic, so we never went anywhere until I was in high school. So, like, luggage of the 80s is a totally foreign concept to me. But as you say that out loud, I'm like, I think that's dead on accurate.
Yeah, apocryphally, like we traveled a fair amount, and like we never had roller bags until I want to say at least I was in high school, so that would have been the early 90s.
Yeah, it like every suitcase I've ever seen on this show has to, like, people had like upper body strength was just different back in the day, apparently, because it's all the big carrying suitcases that you had. I never see rolly bags.
It was the steroids.
Yeah, for sure.
We didn't know.
Well, also we didn't have, not every car had power steering, so everybody's getting like a workout just driving around the city. Like we were a healthier people.
You needed thick, like, calf muscles for the non-power brakes.
We were soft from 35 years of drinking cherry Coke.
Good God.
Amen. Tookie, how white was this week's episode?
Okay. Not that white. Not that white. Okay. So in scene one, there were the first scene. In the opening, no one, right? No people of color. There may or may not have been, she may or may not be a person of color. I couldn't quite tell because she was far away sitting in the back by the jukebox in the cold open. But anyway, scene one, there were two black men at a piano. There was a black man walking in through the hall where the phones are. There was a black man who entered when Cliff and Norm were moving from their normal seats to the front of the bar, a black woman in white near Cliff, and a black woman in gray behind Sam. And then in the second scene, there was a black man in a brown blazer with the arm patches, excuse me, passing by Diane. You could see him float around through the bar. A black woman who entered during Frasier and Diane spat, and a black woman in blue and red by the telephones. And then in the third segment of the show, I don't know, because there were so many bits of scenes, I can't really break them down into 1, 2, 3. But in the third of the show, it was a black woman in red who passed by Diane and Paula, a black woman in the bar opposite Diane, and at the bar rather, and she was kind of in like a beige number, and then a black woman in a shiny puffy kind of coat kind of chit-chatting with her, and then moved on. And it was on the same side opposite Diane. So let's see what we've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 12 total, and we've got bonus black people, which was the entire family in the photo with Coach. I'm going to say that's 10. I'm going to say that's 10 in the big family reunion photo. So
Nice.
22.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
That photo gooses it up to
Yeah.
accounting convention numbers.
Oh, yeah. It far outweighs the accounting convention.
All right. Sam creepy quotient.
156.
Now, is there anything that lowers it by the fact that there is only one woman he's creeping on this week? Like, does the monogamal aspect of it improve the numbers at all? No. Okay.
I mean, it's triple digits just based on the phone call alone.
Yeah. It's a rough SCQ week. There's no two ways around it. It's a tough one. The lines are bad. The phone call's bad. The
interchange with Norm and Cliff, where he says, "I've never had a reporter," and then goes on to specify, well, not one from New England with a circulation of more than 1 million, whatever. Gross, just gross.
And somehow we're not even like pointing out like the dishonesty in using the lies from Diane to get another woman. It's a lot this week. It's a lot.
The worst Cyrano remix. Ugh.
Very bad.
It's there. It's undeniable.
It works in the episode's favor. I feel like, again, like I think it pays off in that Paula Diane scene where they're both commiserating about, like, I don't know, this guy seems like an idiot, but I'm attracted to him. It's like, right, he is an idiot. We've watched him be an idiot for 20 minutes.
It works narratively. It's there. I get it. It's still creepy. I mean, that is often the case about the Sam creepy quotient. A high SCQ doesn't necessarily correlate to a bad episode, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. You acknowledge it. All right. Where are we ranking this week's episode? It's quite high for me. I'm surprised.
Top middle.
Yep. For an episode with no coach and very little Frasier, I was quite impressed by how they did it.
Yeah, I didn't like laugh out loud a lot, but this was, I thought, a really good this was a really good season building episode for me. Just again, like once you kind of got past the grossness of Act 1, like it did what it did really, really worked and laid foundations for things that are going to pay off later. So I'd put this in the top 7 or 8 episodes, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a top 5er for me, simply because of that. I thought multiple laugh out loud moments genuinely pushed the narrative forward, laying the groundwork for because that information that Diane is clearly, admittedly, still open to something happening with Sam has to be here for the later episodes to work, where she's going to Europe. It can't come out of the blue. And to do an episode like this where that does get its service time, that does get played, and even the fact that you see there's something about Sam that still wants to be with an intelligent woman, someone that wants to prove himself to a woman who maybe is not initially inclined to think much of him. There's a lot there that services the relationship issues that come up later in the season. And on top of that, there's a lot of funny moments in it. There's things that I just enjoy. I thought it was a well-acted episode. I thought it was tightly directed under challenging circumstances. I really feel like the degree of difficulty was high and they pulled it off. So I'm really impressed with this one.
Yeah,
and that's where I'm at with Behind Every Great Man. Although, by the way, even the title is a little creepy.
Title is terrible.
Yeah. I was trying to give it credit because I think Behind Every Great Man is a great woman in that, okay, she's providing the good information and maybe it's trying to say something positive about Diane, but I'm not sure that was what was going on. Yeah. All right. Have we got anything to plug this week?
I'll be at the Comedy Studio, double masked up on a Thursday.
Nice. I'm supposed to be at the studio on Saturday and I'm kind of on the fence. I'm slightly on the fence just because, it's a few reasons. There's a part of me that really feels like I get everybody still wanting to go out there, and I don't even know if they're wrong. The shows that I have been at, and maybe it's going to be a little bit different, and I'll probably talk to Rick about it, like the audience is just not being consistently masked up. And as a comedian, not being able to be masked up and asking them to laugh and blow these aerosol particles directly at me into a corner with no ventilation and no windows, even as someone who has gotten COVID, feels high risk. I'm feeling very awkward about that. And I kind of feel weird about being part of the reason that they are out at a time that I feel like they shouldn't be. I talked to you guys beforehand, like I'm experiencing some long COVID symptoms, and the idea of doing 2 shows on Saturday is a little daunting for me. So I'm very much on the fence. If for any reason, if either of our viewers is thinking about going to the show on Saturday because I'm performing, double check before you go on Saturday, because I'm very much walking a tightrope here. Like even to the point where I might try to figure out who's on the show on the 29th, when maybe this is further past it a little bit, and see if I can switch spots with them. Just because I just feel weird right now about going out. I feel weird. I'm okay with going out. Like I went to the store, I masked up, I did what I needed to do, but like there, I'm in an N95 mask, which feels very secure. I'm going to the store. So if I get that sudden bout of fatigue, the sudden cough, the sudden headache, I go out to my car and I close my eyes and I'm okay, which I can't do when I'm supposed to be on stage for 10, 15 minutes. It's harder. So that's where I'm at. More information than perhaps you needed, but I also wanted to like be honest about symptoms that I'm going through, because I feel like last week I really made it sound like, yeah, this Omicron's nothing. Yeah. And it's like, look, I'm not in the hospital. I'm not on a ventilator. I feel generally pretty okay, but it's also not nothing. Like, you know, it hangs around, and I'm feeling that I had it. So yeah. So just be aware.
I mean, I've read a couple things that say this is sort of surpassing Delta at this point.
Not in severity, but it's far surpassed in terms of the number of positive tests.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Far surpassed it. Many more people have had Omicron than had Delta, but Delta was much more severe.
Right. And and that's sort of the onset of when things are supposed to get better.
Hopefully. Yeah. I should share the article. There was something basically saying, which is what a lot of people have been theorizing right now. Even a few months ago, where people were saying, you know, look, pandemics are typically 2 years, and we're not at 2 years yet. And as much as everyone doesn't want it to be 2 years, for whatever reason, historically, these are 2-year episodes. And often they're signified by something like this, where there's a wave where just there's a ton of people getting it, but then that's part of what pushes you past the herd immunity, because everyone, even the people who don't want to get vaccinated, have gotten it. So that's the hope, is that if that is the case, then literally by February, there could be so much immunity in some form or fashion that we're basically endemic and not pandemic anymore.
I just don't want to have to get an annual shot. I hate needles.
Yeah, we might. There is a vaccine, though, that is under development where it is an RNA vaccine where it is not variant specific, that it would, because of the way that it's being constructed, it would essentially work against every version of COVID. So that's very good, but it's still a few months away. So we'll see. I don't know. I get a shot every year for the flu anyway. So if I got to get a shot, I'll get a shot. I would like it to just be gone, but I don't know if that's happening.
Well, you heard go ahead.
Nope. I'm just saying, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, you heard the conspiracy theory I relayed earlier.
Which one?
About how it started and how it ended.
Let's blame this on long COVID. Refresh me.
How it allegedly started with Kobe and it might end with Betty.
Oh, well, I heard that timing, but that's not a theory, is it?
It's a conspiracy.
It's just someone saying like, wow, it's weird that, maybe that these two deaths coincide with that. I didn't know that was a conspiracy of any sort.
Wow.
Like, is the conspiracy that COVID, that the helicopter had COVID? What's the I don't get how that's part of a virus conspiracy.
Or just about the theories about the glitch in the matrix, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, that's where we're going.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sure.
If that's the case, the Matrix glitched in 2010 when the Lakers won despite Kobe only making like 5 field goals at Game 7.
Horrible.
If that's the case, I've known that we're living in a simulation since then.
Are we at the point now where we can be honest about Kobe Bryant's career? Are we far enough removed from his death where we can stop pretending he was like that good? Are we there?
This is a longer conversation than the 4 minutes we have left on the recording.
I know. 5th best Laker. That's all I'm saying.
Oof.
Clearly the 5th best Laker. Anyone who would take Kobe Bryant over Magic or Kareem they don't deserve to watch basketball. Stop it. If you're actually willing to take Kobe Bryant over Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, over half of Kareem's career, shame on you.
5th best.
Kareem did everything. Guard. Stop it. And he did it for like 38 years. Stop it.
Eddie Jones.
It's Kareem. Magic did more, and he stopped playing while he still had 5 good years left. Stop it.
Give me Nick Van Exel.
Ooh.
But that's the thing. Like, I'm not even ridiculous where I'm like, Nick Van Exel or Robert Horry, or give me Rick Fox was more of a contributor.
Not Rick Fox.
I get it. Yeah,
absolutely.
I get it. Kobe Bryant was a great player, but literally, I'm taking him 5th out of all the Lakers, which they're a great team, historic team. But I'm taking Kareem, I'm taking Magic, I'm taking Shaq, and I'm taking Jerry West ahead of Kareem.
Jerry West is the NBA logo.
He's the logo. He's the only guy who ever got the MVP losing the series. Come on. Like, how badly are we underselling Jerry West at this point?
Well, they're petitioning to make Kobe the new logo.
Stop it.
There was a petition going out at one point.
The logo won't be someone passing, I'll tell you that. All right. It won't be someone setting a pick. Anyway. All right. We got to wrap this up. God rest his soul. All right. So. All right. On that note, I am Mike. That's Dookie. That's Dave. This has been Norm, the Cheers podcast that isn't. We'll see you next week. Hopefully. Bye.